It is the year of 2018. The majority of the world has been at peace for more than half a century. In Shenzhen, China, students from Shekou International School have been learning and growing. While we are enjoying the peace, we couldn't help but wonder about the First World War. How did it end up so deadly? After much research, we have discovered that one of the biggest contributing factors to the mass casualties of World War I was the common implementation of trench warfare. In the Western Front, the Central Forces, Germany and Austria-Hungary and the Ottoman Empire, fought trench warfare against the Allies, France, Great Britain, and Russia. Trench warfare is a type of war fought with soldiers firing from opposite parallel trenches at least 1 mile deep, from a few meters to a kilometer apart. The space in between warring trenches is called the no man's land, for it is extremely difficult to survive a charge under the rapid machine gun fire and artillery bombing. The war front stretched for thousands of kilometers, all the way from the Belgian coast to Switzerland borders.
Alles begann in der ersten Sklevatsburg.
It all started in the First Battle of Marne. Our forces were almost in Paris, so close to taking down France once and for all. But the Allies were able to regroup their forces and stop our weary troops. Constantly under enemy shell fire, we had to dig ditches to protect ourselves. There was nothing else we could do. We were so close to Paris, so close to completing the Schlieffen Plan and winning the war. We couldn't back off. All we could do was fight in the ditches. Even if we planned an intricate ambush, their machine guns would mow us down in seconds. None of our old strategies were working, so we had to dig deeper trenches.
Life in the trenches, devastating of course, rats, sometimes as big as a cup, running around everywhere and water flooding during summer. When soldiers got bored, they see who could catch the biggest, fattest rat and roast them for food. Dead fellow soldier bodies here and there, making the trenches smelling like the naked soldiers stay up at night, digging holes to the other side and sleeping during the day, full of fear. Once I wake up and the soldier next to me was gone. It was said that he participated in the night raid to the other side and was captured, tortured to death. At any time, enemy mining teams could be digging holes towards us. We were in constant fear of the German foe appearing out of a trench wall and shooting us down.
Death was truly everywhere in the trenches. None of the forces had time to bury the dead bodies on the no man's land, so they rotted away as artillery shells blasted them into dust.
Gas, quick boys, an ecstasy of fumbling, fitting the clumsy helmets just in time. But someone still was yelling and stumbling and floundering like a mine, fire, or lime. Dim through the misty panes and thick green light, as under a green sea I saw him drowning. In all my dreams, before my helpless sight, he plunges at me, guttering, choking, drowning.
Trench warfare also had its friendly side. The Christmas of 1914, Central Forces and Allied soldiers met at night on the no man's land, not to stab each other to death, but to celebrate Christmas. They shook hands with enemy soldiers, exchanged gifts of cigarettes and plum puddings, played a game of soccer, and sang Christmas carols together. No man died that evening. However, in the next morning, the armies returned to fighting, and the short, fragile peace was over.
How we run the whole affair was more complicated than civilians usually think. We didn't just dig one straight ditch and shoot from it. We actually fought in at least 3 lines of parallel trenches every time. First comes the frontline trench, where soldiers fire their rifles and machine guns surrounded by sandbags to defend against enemy targets. Behind that is a support branch, where there are small caves called dugouts for shelter, sleep, and supply storage, such as firearms, food, and water. Even further back is the reserve trench, where fresh soldiers are waiting to replace soldiers in the front line, and artillery are set up to fire. There are also vertical connective trenches dug in between the 3 horizontal ones for soldiers to move through. We also dug our trenches in zigzag lines. This is to prevent the disaster of one enemy soldier breaking through and shooting us down in a perfect straight line. That would be just horrible. We would die like rats skewered through a needle. That is simply too scary to imagine.
Both sides in the Western Front also employed strategies to try to break the deadly stalemate. They dug secret tunnels under enemy strongpoints and set off strong explosives to destroy their enemies. Behind the front line, armies used abandoned quarries to shelter worn-out troops and store supplies. Some large quarries were turned into underground cities with rows of makeshift beds and cooking areas, surrounded by sketches, soldier signatures, and carving and sculptures in the soft limestone walls. Trench warfare had become a full underground war.
Incoming! Fire! Fire in the hole! Artilleries! Realizing how deadly trench warfare is, the generals on both sides tried to find victory outside of Europe, bringing other countries such as Japan and India into the war. Trench warfare did not end until the Second Battle of Marne in July 1918, when the Allied forces forced the Central Powers to surrender. Trench warfare in World War I caused millions of deaths without either armies advancing out of France. The intense artillery bombing and underground warfare decimated the local ecosystem and geography, and left permanent impacts that the villages still haven't recovered from. However, it did warn future military strategists to avoid this method of war and push them to develop new strategies and technologies to make trench warfare obsolete. Trench warfare has never been fought ever again in history.